In our last class, we were introduced to array. In today's class, we will see how to declare a one-dimensional array in C programs. We know that an array is a group of related data items that share a common name. Or array can be considered as a data structure or derived data type containing a number of data items of same type. In our last class, we have already learned the advantage of using array in C programs. But before we want to use an array in any program of ours, we have to declare that like other variables. So we have to know how to declare an array. In today's class, we will see for one-dimensional array, and in our future class, we will learn for 2D array. So this is the syntax of declaration of a one-dimensional array. So first we have to mention the type, then the variable name, and then the size of the array. One thing you notice here that between type and between the array name or variable name, there should be minimum one space gap, and between array name and the size of the array, there should not be any space, and the size of the array should always be mentioned within brackets, not within parentheses, not within braces. Now what is type? Type is the data type of the elements of that array. So we know that fundamental data types are int, float, character. So if suppose the array is storing integer type of data, same type of data, then the type of that array will be integer. Now what is size? We know that size is the maximum number of elements that the array can store. Now this is an example where we have taken the array name or variable name as marks. The size of that array or maximum number of elements that the array can store here is 40, and each type of element in that array has data type int. This is an example of array of integers where we have size 10 and all the elements are integers. So this will be the declaration int, then the suppose the array name or variable name is the marks, and then the size of that array. Now this is an example of array of floats where we can see again we have 10 elements and all the elements have type float. So this will be the corresponding declaration float. If suppose at this array is storing the weights of 10 students, then the variable or array name is weight and the size of the array. Now this is an example of array of characters or string, and this is storing name of a particular student. And suppose if the maximum size we have declared as 10, then we know that in case of string or array of characters, we need to allocate one more byte just to store the null character or the terminator of that array, which says the compiler that this is the end of the array or this is the end of the string. So if the maximum length of the name is 10, then we have to allocate 11 bytes for that, and accordingly we have to declare that particular array. So the array or the variable name is name, and since this is string, so the data type will be char, and the size of that array is 11. And one important point that we should always remember is that the size of an array is always a positive integer constant or integer constant expression. So here we can see that the size of that array is 10. So this is positive integer constant. So this is a valid declaration. Now here within the brackets we have 10 plus 5 and both are integer constants. So this integer constant expression, if we evaluate, then the final result will be 15, which is integer constant again, and that is positive. So this is also a valid declaration. Here also this integer constant expression will give us a positive integer, so that is also a valid declaration. This is also a valid declaration, and we can also use division in our expression, but we have to make sure that this is an integer division, and accordingly we need to mention. But what about this? 10 is an integer constant, but this is minus 10. So this is negative integer constant, which is not acceptable. What about this? This is 10.5. So size of that array is float. So that is also not acceptable. The better practice or good practice is that if we can mention the size of that array as a symbolic constant. So in the beginning of that program we will define that symbolic constant. There we will mention the value of that symbolic constant, and in the declaration part of that array we will use the name of the symbolic constant as size of that array. Now here again we have taken an array of integers where the size is 5. So this is a valid declaration of that array of integers. Now how to refer each of the elements of that array. So 65 here is the first element of that integer array. So 65 will be referred as marks is the array name or variable name. So marks of 0. As I said in my last class also, here the index or subscript value should start from 0. So to define or to refer the first element of any array, the index value will be 0. So here marks of 0, that points to the first element of that array of integers that we have on the screen. And accordingly the second element will be defined by index value 1, third element by index value 2, accordingly fourth value, accordingly fifth value. So the index value of the last element of any array should be 1 less than the maximum size of that array. So the declaration of an array is done only once in the declaration part of the program before we use that particular array. But we can use the elements of that array multiple times in the body of that program as and when required. So this was about the declaration of a one-dimensional array. In our next class, we will see how to initialize the values of a one-dimensional array. So stay safe and stay healthy. Have a good day. Thank you.